Marcus Smart expresses confusion and love for Ime Udoka as he moves in on that Brooklyn job. There is now some kind of feeling. Is that going to impact how the Celtics are playing or how they feel in that locker room? Going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. And I am here for you every day with a free, fresh podcast for you, wherever podcasts exist, wherever you prefer to listen, however you prefer. Even if you like to watch on YouTube, it's there as well. I do appreciate you making this your first listen every day. I'm John Karalis, former professional basketball player, currently covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. If you are interested in that, pick it up. Just sent out a signed copy through my website. I have limited copies left. If there is anybody who wants one of the few that I have, I can also place a new order. If a lot of you, that'd be so great if a lot of you wanted my book. But I think that might have run its course at this point. A little note, tomorrow, today, Friday, for when you're listening to this, I will not be doing a post-game podcast. I will also not be at the game. I'm otherwise occupied in a rare game that I'm going to miss. I'll have to catch up on that afterwards. So if you are expecting a post-game podcast, no tomorrow. I'll probably get one up Saturday night after the Knicks game, and I'll have to address that. So anyway, let's bring in our guy, my guy, Tom Westerholm, _boys. What's up?
What's up? Dude, I'm just having so much fun following the NBA right now. It's just so much fun to be involved in this league at this moment. It's just so uplifting and fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of good basketball. There are a lot of surprises. There's a lot of the good drama, not the bad drama that's surrounding the league. The good, like, how is this team going to pull out of their tailspin drama? There's a lot of bad drama too, but
that was kind of my point. And that's very, very, it's very you to be the positive person here, and to be like, oh, Tom's serious. Yes, Tom is having fun. No, dude, like the bad drama is awful. I'm the NBA, like Adam Silver has to be going insane right now. This is the wildest stretch that I think I've seen in NBA.
Let me just say this. I like Adam Silver. I like the fact that he is shepherding this new era into the NBA, and I like where the game is, even though my preferred style is long gone. I like watching the product today. Sure, there are tweaks and all that stuff, but Silver, the weakest part of his game is discipline. I think he's missed the mark on a lot of player discipline. I think he's very, very lenient, and I think it's biting him in the ass right now. He's had multiple opportunities to handle situations. For a guy who came in and got rid of Donald Sterling like in a blink, that the rest has been kind of slow on the uptake. I will just say that. So missed opportunities abound, and it's continuing right now for Adam Silver, but the product on the floor is great.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
We've got teams right now, obviously after 9 games, it doesn't really matter, or 8 games, but you got teams like Miami in Philly struggling, and Philly just lost James Harden, and you got the Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves, or they're going to be the Clippers, the Warriors, who are 3-5. And as we record this, are locked in a tight battle with the Orlando Magic. You got great rookies, or Banchero is great, and Mathurin is great, and like this is going to be a really, really fun year. So
yeah, no question. I mean, even like the game that's on NBA TV as we're recording this is Nuggets OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is electric, man. Like this dude is so good. So yeah, even like the terrible, unwatchable teams have guys that are watchable.
Can we start save Shea and like just get him to a team that's actually trying to win? Then what do we got to do to get this guy some national play? I know he's kind of like the centerpiece of what the Thunder are trying to do, but at the same time, like, all right, get this guy onto a team, a serious team. If they don't get Wembanyama, then just trade him. Just be done with it and move on.
That's when I'm ready. If they don't get Wembanyama, then no. Like, sorry, Shea is a serious player on an unserious franchise at the moment.
Yeah, man. He's not
a serious star on an unserious franchise. If you're an unserious franchise, you don't deserve a serious star. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, all right. Let's get into the meat of what we're talking about. What we're talking about, actually, this plays right into what we're talking about because it's the off the court mess that is really. The Celtics have been trying so hard to avoid off the court stuff getting in the way of the team. And I don't think off the court stuff is getting in the way of the team. However, Brooklyn being so bad and so like the epicenter of drama in the NBA. And for people who haven't heard or haven't paid attention or muted the phrase Kyrie Irving on Twitter, good for you. Kyrie's out for 5 games because he refuses to apologize for his anti-Semitic stance, his tweet, and all of that stuff. And so, because they are just such a dumpster fire over there, that got Steve Nash out much earlier than a lot of people thought. And that's going to bring Ime Udoka in much earlier than people thought. And now we're getting the comments, and the comments that people are focusing on is Marcus Smart, who didn't say anything bad. I'm not setting this up to say he said anything bad, but he was pretty glowing about Ime Udoka. And, obviously we wish he was here is a term that gets pulled out and thrown into a headline and thrown into like one of those graphics, with Marcus Smart's face on it. And even though he said later on, I love Joe and I love this team, and I'm not marginalizing what's happening here, but at the same time, I love his quote, "You can have 2 best friends."
Yeah.
And
that was good.
And so the gist of it is you're seeing guys, and especially Smart, talking just very, very glowingly about Ime and kind of expressing some disbelief that he's walking into a situation in Brooklyn, same division, potential roadblock for them. And there is a serious question, even though I don't think it's going to be this way. There is a question of when the players see this, it kind of dredges up the, if it was so bad that he couldn't coach us, why can he coach them? And then it just raises questions that you don't want to have to ask at this point.
Yeah, and I think this is part of what makes this whole conversation so difficult, right? Because if you're the Celtics, I think it's very plausible. Like the Celtics have been so steel trap as an organization. Like this, like they are not talking about this to anyone. You reach out about anything to anybody, and it is nothing. And that's almost certainly as it should be, right? Because like we saw what happens when people on social media get a little nugget of information, they go searching for it and they do things that we talked about at length on this podcast. So you can 100% understand that. You can understand to an extent. Look, I think a lot of times when stuff gets to players, stuff gets to agents, and when stuff gets to agents, stuff gets to the media. And that's not, I think that's one of the reasons that the Celtics probably aren't just kind of doling out information, because Smart said in his comments to Adam Himmelsbach of the Globe, basically, it seems like they still don't know many details. They don't really know what's going on. And that's got to be really, really hard for these players, because their last memory of Ime Udoka is him leading them to the NBA Finals, is him inspiring them and coaching them and putting together the best defense in the NBA and the best offense in the NBA for the second half of the season, and just helping turn them into this absolute juggernaut. Like, what a positive experience these guys all had with him. and the organization isn't telling them anything. But from the organization side, what are they supposed to do? Like, are they supposed to just kind of hand out this information to, and just kind of like let it kind of filter out into the mainstream? Like, I don't think that's what they're trying to do either. So I don't know. I really do kind of feel for Smart and hear what he's saying, because this has to be just unbelievably frustrating for them. But I mean, it is just a very complicated situation all around. I don't know what the answer is there, and I'm glad I just have to talk about it third hand here. So
yeah, I think there's, and the reason I'm bringing this up and not right now talking about like the X's and O's of basketball and all of that is because, first of all, this does impact the X's and O's, but I also want to kind of go on record as putting out the difference between guys talking about their coach like Marcus Smart and people like me and you, or people on social media talking about Ime Udoka. And there are distinct, significant differences about how they approach it and how they view it and how people on the outside view it. And I don't think the two can actually mix. I actually have to take a second here and move on to PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy, and it is very easy to make your picks. It's you against the numbers. You pick 2 to 5 players. If they go on to score more or less than what their PrizePick projection is, you win, potentially up to 10 times your money on any entry. So you pick 3 players. It could be all NBA. It could be NFL. It could be somebody from, in the World Series. You can mix it all up. All you got to do is get the over or the under correct, and you win. So it's not about competing against others. And there are tons and tons of sports. If you look across the top, you can just scroll through. There's just about anything that you can ask for. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Super, super easy, safe and fast withdrawals. Operational right now in 30 states and Canada. So go download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So if you use that promo code and you deposit $100, PrizePicks give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. Very simple. Make sure you're using that promo code Locked On, though, for an instant deposit match of up to $100. I always thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. How about your second listen? Locked On Sports Today. It's the flagship show on this network, and it's got all the games that matter, all the big stories from whatever sports are out there, beyond the scoreboard, behind the scenes, and it's the local experts that Locked On has that nobody else does, and you're getting insight like nowhere else. Locked On Sports Today, available here, wherever you get your apps, wherever you get your podcasts, also on YouTube. All right, let me get back to my point that I was making just a minute ago. Player and a coach, that relationship is pretty strong. If you like your coach and you feel like that coach is getting the most out of you and helps you win, I don't want to overrepresent it, but teams are families, and these guys spend a lot of time with one another. It's a long season. You're together. If the Celtics do what they want to do, you're together for 9 months. You spend all your time together, and the coach is the guy who's getting you ready. He's the voice of authority, and you can make strong connections there. It's very much, I've compared this, if my brother went out and did something wrong, especially if I didn't know what the hell happened, it's my brother. I love him unconditionally, if I did something wrong and he'd be like, well, I'm very confused here. I love the guy. He's awesome. Like, just give me a second. I don't even know what he did.
Right.
That's kind of what's going on here. Meanwhile, on the outside, people on social media and people on TV and radio have the advantage of separation. Yes. It doesn't matter. Ime is a guy, and he's a good coach. We just watched him, but he's just basically, he's some dude and you're not sure what did this guy do. You don't even know if was it a person, like one person, two people, there's a lot of confusion, but it doesn't matter because there's like you got the separation. You can kind of write it off. Most people don't even think about it, but guys on the team can't separate that. They just can't separate that, and it's hard for people to understand the level of that relationship. So I see nothing wrong with what Marcus Smart said. I don't know if anybody is saying that what Marcus Smart said was wrong, but I just want to be clear that this type of feeling being within the locker room is not some sort of indication of where they are, not some sort of indication of how they feel about Joe Mazzulla. It's not some sort of indication of, oh my God, things going to start falling apart. I think it's just they genuinely love the guy, and in that family, he treated them well, and he treated them the way they wanted to be treated. And the drama and all that other stuff, they just, they keep it hoop. They just keep it on the floor. And this other stuff is all super, super confusing. And they're so close and so super connected to him that they can't separate this other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's all right. I mean, so I just pulled up the Woj story from, I believe it was like September. It was the investigation, right? When that leaked. And the headline for that is 5 lines long, right? It's sources: investigation found Boston Celtics coach Ime Udoka used crude language in dialogue with female subordinate prior to start of improper relationship. Now, somebody with separation like yourself or me, we can go through that, right? And it's because it's a lot. It's a lot of words, a lot of verbiage. Like there's not very many specifics, but it's like it's sort of trying to paint this vague picture for, whoever leaked this to Woj was trying to paint kind of like a vague picture of what happened. And you can kind of see like, okay, used crude language, okay, prior to start of improper relationship. So prior to the start of the relationship, he was doing this. That doesn't sound great. You can go into the story and you can find, that it says the power dynamic associated with a superior's improper relationship with a staff member was a primary finding and was like one of the was deemed especially concerning coming from a workplace superior. You again, those are like when you have separation, you can go in and you can just kind of like, okay, yeah, like this does sound bad. And I don't have any prior relationship with Ime, I don't, he didn't lead me to the finals. So right. So for me, it's so much easier. Like, cause I think your brother comparison is very, very apt, because for somebody like Smart, like parsing all that stuff, that's all stuff that he, he might've read in an article, but he has firsthand experience with Ime. He has these real moments, these real kind of connections with him that you and I just simply don't. So yeah, I think I think it makes all the sense in the world, right? Like Ime has just a completely different relationship with these guys than and a completely different connection. And I don't think that none of that is to excuse the stuff that I just read, right? Like I'm certainly not excusing Ime by saying that. I mean, like the word prior is not great, and like the workplace dynamic sounds really bad, and it's just much easier for me to say that than it is for somebody who spent 82 games, including 41 on the road, and then the playoffs with Ime Udoka.
Right. It's just I don't know. I felt like just for at least the people who are listening to this podcast, I know, even though I'm not hearing it, I know it exists out there somewhere, that people are taking Marcus Smart's comments and going, whoa, my God, what's happening here? And trying to spin it into a negative, because that's what people do. I just felt like discussing this and trying to shed some proper light on it was, worth doing, because the Celtics are 4-3 and people are looking for reasons why they're 4-3. And I think a lot of people are sitting there saying, well, they went to the finals and we think that they have a chance to go there again. Why aren't they winning? You get you can't beat Cleveland. Can't beat Cleveland twice, and they didn't have Darius Garland the first time. Can't beat those guys. What, and you expect to be a serious contender? What's wrong with you?
The Cavs might be a serious contender, but that's a topic for later in the podcast.
How about the Cavs? Yeah, how about the Cavs are really good? That's a thing. The Cavs can be really good, and it's different. The Celtics are trying to win. The Celtics are trying to learn to win again. That's what they've said afterwards. That's what Mazzulla has said afterwards. And it's just different. It's different with Rob not there. It's different with the personnel that they have. They didn't use Luke Cornett last year. They didn't use Noah Vonleh or Blake Griffin. They didn't use Derek White in the same way. And Derek White certainly wasn't the same player. They very
Sam Hauser.
So yeah, Sam Hauser. Like all of these things they all have to fit.
Yeah.
And Tatum is a different player. Jaylen is a different player. Like they, even if it's just by a little fine tune, they are still different players and they're trying to do different things. And hey, they also have like different motivations as well. There are added elements each year that change everybody's motivation. You just throw in yes, I want to get to the finals, but also if I could make all NBA along the way, it would be nice because, you get that contract bump. So all of these elements that are going on are still a part of the process. And every team comes in trying to figure out, how are we going to win this year? And the Ime Udoka curveball was a huge one. The fact that he got this job not officially yet, but he will get this job so quickly is the worst part because it adds to this level of confusion for everybody involved. If what he did in Boston was so bad that they had to get rid of him so quickly and suspend him, the weird year-long suspension, then how is he getting this other job in Brooklyn so fast? Like, that's the attitude. And it could be as simple as what he did was so bad, egregious for the Celtics, and Brooklyn is like, well, he didn't do that for us. He didn't do anything illegal. He wasn't pushing anti-Semitic movies. He wasn't out there, he violated team policies and did it in a way that was bad enough that the team did this, but they're not being sued from what I know. There are no lawsuits against the Celtics. There's no criminal charges against Udoka. This is a violation of team policy and a serious one. If the Brooklyn Nets are like, okay, that's a violation of Boston's policy, but not ours, or it's a violation of Boston's policy, but we're going to throw some strict morals clauses into his contract and we're not going to have that happen here, then that's their choice. That's their choice. And the Celtics kind of legally sort of have to move out of the way. And, but the perception that it creates is, oh, if it was that bad, then why is he getting this job so quickly?
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty significant right now, right? Because the Celtics are, like you said,
because the players are thinking that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. The players are thinking that, and they're 4-3. And like the defense is really struggling. Now there's a million reasons why the defense is struggling, right? Like, and we've talked about all of them. Like Rob is out, Smart is banged up. I think the take foul rule is really hampering defenses across the league.
Good point.
Like I think that's
points are up across the board.
They're crazy up. And I mean, a big part of that is because you can't just grab a guy and stop him from scoring. I mean, look, like Marcus Smart is a super high IQ defender, and he took a lot of take fouls last season, to stop fast breaks. Like that just happened. So
Grant Williams did it all the time.
Grant Williams was a serial take fouler. But yeah, no, I think, there's a lot of reasons that this is all happening, but like one of them certainly is the coaching transition and how the Celtics come out on the other side of that. That's one of the reasons why Joe Mazzulla is under so much pressure right now. It's like, this is not like this transition matters so much because, like, for one thing, the Celtics want to be contenders. For another thing, when they brought in Udoka and he led the team to the finals in his first year, they had solved the coaching problem. It was like, it was done. They had done it, and they had solved the Jays problem. Like the Jays were no longer like, kind of once they made the finals, we didn't, I mean, I guess there was the Kevin Durant stuff, but we didn't really like, the breaking up the Jays was not a major topic this summer. The only reason it was is because of Durant, but like, right. It wasn't like these guys can't play together. We had evidence that they could play together. And then the guy that like, then the common denominator with the Jays playing well together got suspended. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of pressure that Joe Mazzulla must be feeling because like it's like it's on him now, and there's going to be a lot of a lot of figuring out that goes with that, and a lot of like a lot of questions that he has to ask Tatum, which is something Tatum talks about often, is like that Mazzulla's reaching out to the players too, and it's going to have to be very collaborative, and that's really hard when you have 15 really talented players and a whole coaching staff of talented basketball minds. Like, collaboration is great, but it's hard when there's that much talent involved. So there's all of that kind of working under the surface of this as well. Like, it's not, it's not just, okay, players go out and play for a new coach. Okay, guys, like, just kind of do what you did last year. It's all of this kind of tied up in one unbelievably messy bow. And the good news for the Celtics is that they are the probably they might not even be the third messiest team in the Atlantic Division when you take the Sixers into account. So yeah, I don't know, man. Everybody's going through drama right now, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll finish with this. If anybody thinks that the defense not being where it's supposed to be right now is if they had Ime, it'd be different. Like, come on, like it's only been 7 games. I think this is
also it's rising. The last 2 games have been better already.
Yeah. So, I'll just end with the notion that this is something that the team, I think the comments are the comments, and I think the team is, I feel like the team is in a pretty good spot when it comes to Joe Mazzulla. You're right, it has to be a total collaborative thing, and any sort of thing that kind of jars that can be disruptive. And this is just one of those things. Actually, I'm not going to finish with this because something else popped in my head. This is not going away. Ime, if he gets hired soon, is going to have a media availability.
Yep.
He's going to have to talk to the media.
And then he's going to have to come to Boston and talk to the media again.
Oh, yeah. I've already, that's going to be, I almost don't want to work that day because that media room is going to be a mess. It's going to be so bad. Every outlet's going to want to be there. So it'll be like NBA Finals level.
It really will. Get ASAP Sports on the phone.
No kidding. But that not only is he going to have to talk, but now he's out there, and I just feel like the details are going to start to leak now, because
I think so.
Yeah, because he was on suspension, and now like you said, when players get the information, it gets to their agents. Agents are the ones that leak it, and at some point, he's just gonna be talking to people. He's gonna be like, "No, man, all I did was blah 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 blah," and they lost their minds, or whatever. Or he's gonna say, "Okay, I did blah blah blah, and I shouldn't have done it," or whatever. Like, whatever scenario you want to believe, somehow, some way, that's going to come out somehow, and we're gonna start getting drips and drabs. And I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but if it's coming out from the Ime side, it's going to be sanitized.
Yep.
And so the Celtics I don't know if anybody in the Celtics or in the front office or somebody connected to them might say, well, that's not how this went. And we look like jerks with this version out there. So we can't have that. So somebody's going to leak the no. This without saying, well, I can't tell you exactly what happened, but that's not how it went. And
whoever told Matt Barnes what Matt Barnes heard is going to tell somebody what they heard.
Right. And can I tell you, like, that Matt Barnes thing, Matt Barnes is a central character in this. If Matt Barnes didn't say what he said, like you and I had that reaction, like, whoa. If Matt Barnes is retracting your support, like
if a former player is retracting support for a former player,
yes,
that's
and if that former player is Matt Barnes, Barnes, that was a key element to all of this. And so he came out and was like, "Whoa, this was bad." And so now this is another thing. God, I got to shut up when I say I'm wrapping it up. Marcus says in his piece, Let me see if I can find the quote, because it was about the media, and I really feel compelled to push back on this. His name got slandered and slaughtered, and it was, quote, he'll probably never coach again. A couple of months later, he's possibly going to one of our biggest rivals. It's tough. It makes no sense, but we can't control that. That bit there about the media, he's basically saying it went out in the media and he got slandered and slaughtered. And people are saying, well, the media is the one that said this. Can we push back a little bit on people just don't know what the hell the media is? Just because you say something on TV, one person or two people say something on TV, that doesn't make it all the media. I'm not responsible for what Matt Barnes or Stephen A. Smith say. You can't put us all in the same boat.
Well, and half the time, what they mean by the media is something they saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's the one that drives me insane.
That one is really big. It's like one of those aggregating accounts.
Or even just some random rando who got 100 retweets and 250 likes on something, and so it showed up on
and someone snitch tagged.
Oh god.
But see,
everyone in this country needs a course on media literacy, including many people in the media, probably.
Well, sure, but I can't sit here and say, well, all basketball players are like this. If I were to say all basketball players, big umbrella headline, all basketball players, blah, 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 I would get talk about the risk of being canceled, or basketball players.
Justifiably.
Of course. Of course. If I went in there and I said all basketball players, blah, 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 Jaylen, if I walked in the locker room, Jaylen or Grant, they'd be like, why are you putting that on me? I didn't do anything.
Right.
But when it gets flipped around, somebody in the media, especially when it's somebody big, if it's somebody on a national show, a couple of people say a few things, and all of a sudden it's, the media, here comes the media. What? Now, and why this is so personal to me, now I got to deal with it when I walk into practice, because I want to talk to Jaylen about, hey, I saw you sending some pics for Jayson Tatum. How are you liking how that pick and roll is going? And it's standoffish from some guys where it's all right, here comes the media. What are you going to ask me now? What do you want to know now? Is this a Kanye question? No. You know what I mean? This
is good. This is going to surprise absolutely zero people listening to the podcast, but the worst one with this was Kyrie.
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's just, and it bugs me. It bugs me because I get just lumped in to people who, and I will credit Brad Stevens, who I forget under what context it was, but he said, I tell the guys, when I think there's some trade rumors, tell the guys that there are some people out there whose job it is to have an opinion.
Yep.
And you can't listen to that, because if they're not doing their job, if they're not having an opinion, and so you gotta just brush that stuff off. And Brad had at least some sense of, well, no, this guy's doing this and this guy's doing that, and he could separate that. Very few people are separating these things. That's the thing. And it does create an adversarial type of relationship where I don't think it was adversarial once upon a time. We're going back to, I talked to Mark Murphy and Steve Volpett, and they're telling stories about how they were on team planes traveling to games and stuff. And, there were always wink, wink rules. You heard Mark Spears recently talk about after the Draymond Green stuff. Yeah, we used to go into practices and they'd say, hey, if you see a fight, you can't report it. And you were limited, and because it happens that there's always some sort of altercation, and you had the trade-off of there's 5 beat writers, and you can come on in and watch practice, watch the whole thing. Don't give away our state secrets, and we're giving you the courtesy of getting to know these guys, and they get to know you, and you get a sense you can speak on an informed level. Yeah. Now we're lucky if the curtains go up at the practice facility for 5 minutes before we get to go down there, and all they're doing is drills. It's just not the same. We're held off at arm's length. which is fine. Like, this whole thing is not about me having access. That's not it. It's about players not understanding who's saying what and how it's being said. And that's the part that bugs me. And the fact that we're all getting lumped in, and the fact that these hot take shows are the things that are pushed so much, and the hot takes are the things that, you know, circulate. And those of us who aren't hot take artists are paying the price for it. And it creates uncomfortableness in a situation where it doesn't need to be uncomfortable.
Also, just to point of record, like it was all, Ime is never going to coach again. Nobody thought that. Everybody thought he was going to coach either the Nets or the Sixers, and everybody was right. Like, I mean, what are we doing here?
I will say there were a couple of people. I mean, it might have even been Matt Barnes. It might have even been Matt Barnes who said, "Oh, after what I heard, I don't know if he can coach again." You know, like I think Marcus Smart heard the words, "He'll probably never coach again," or "I don't know if he can coach again."
Yeah.
But where did he hear it from? And under what context? But he's not going to listen to context. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have to. Like, his job isn't to, like, you know, parse out who's. I'd like him to understand. Oh, well, that was just Matt Barnes saying that. But it's that. Well, so I heard it, so the media said it.
Right. Exactly. It's and yeah. To your point, it's it's a league-wide problem. It's not going away.
No,
I think
not going away.
It's not, because I mean, we've gotten to this point. I don't know how much navel gazing we want to do, but we've gotten to this point where you know, page views rule the day, right? Like, the clicks rule the day. So, like, as long as that's the case, any salacious thing that's going to drive them is going to get out there. And that's one of the reasons why reporters can't be allowed in practice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, very frustrating.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just more that I've said what I got to say. I don't want to try, because I want to make sure it's clear that, you know, you're a basketball player and you're going from the gym to your car, or you're walking to the weight room, or you're walking through a hotel, and you're just like doing this. You're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. You see a few things. Like, you got a lot of other stuff going on in your life. Your job is not to sit there and be like, well, let me see who tweeted this. What's this account? Is it verified? Who is this? What else? Let me just go down this person's timeline and see what else.
Right.
You know, you see it and you repeat it, or it gets into your head and you say, oh, well, I heard it. I just wish there was more, just, I don't know, critical thinking, discern time, but it's complicated. It's complicated. And I want to teach a class to NBA players. I should just email Adam Silver and be like, here's my idea, a media education class at rookie orientation. Twitter is not the media.
Honestly, dude, I bet that exists, and I bet the players just
don't care.
Yeah, like, who cares? You know.
I think Tom, you know, I think maybe people listening are at that point right now.
You might be right.
I think if I look at the numbers, the people just basically tuned out about 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, that's fair. So we can say anything.
So we got two options here: wrap it up and be responsible, or just say whatever the hell we want. This is the podcasting equivalent of, do you want another drink?
Right. I'd have one more.
Yeah. One more at 11 p.m. And then at 2:45, it's regret. So knowing that story very, very well, I, for once, might surprise you, I'm going to take the next drink. Let's keep going. No, my goodness. We're going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody listening. Oh, but first of all, I got to get rid of Tom. Bye, Tom. Bye-bye, Tom.
Bye, guys.
Go away, Tom. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks for watching. Sorry for going long. Thank you for sharing the podcast, telling your friends, telling everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.